Yan naman, activities. Tapos sila mag-aral, yan. Practice sila mag-treat, medical mission. Javel and Associate Medical Mission. Caloocan, may medical mission kami nung araw. Yan. Lukban, Quezon. Yan yung mga picture namin. Yan yung mga practitioner na nag-avail ng device. Pinrain ko sila ngayon, nag-treat na sila. Kahit sila mag-isa mag-treat. Pero kung medyo critical, yan, hindi nila kaya, hihingi sila sa akin ng advice. Ibibigay ko naman free para sa kanila. Maging mahusay lang sila. Lumawak tayo. Lumago. Pag dadami tayo, mas dadami matutulungan. Yan. Contributor. Yan po si Albert Einstein. Isang inventor. Marami po siyang invention. Siya yung tinatawag na father of laser. Siya yung naka-invento ng lights, ilaw o liwanag, refrigerator, napakadami. Pero may hirap din. Meron din tinatawag na war sa loob ng invention. Meron mga kontra, meron mga sang-ayon, marami kang dadaanan bago ka magtagumpay sa iyong layunin, sa iyong invention. Pag tagumpayan mo siya, salamat sa Diyos. Sabihin, may patnubay ka ng Panginoon kapag nagtagumpay ka. Pag natapos mo ang iyong invention, hindi pa tagumpay yan. Kailangan na ipalaganap mo sa tao, magamit ng tao, mapabuti ang tao, pakinabangan para sa kanilang sarili. Yan ang invention. Albert Einstein. Yan, invention niya. Light. Laser light. Isang puti, may green. Pinakita lang yung sample ng light sa picture. Okay? Ito na. 7 of Albert Einstein's inventions that changed the world. Okay. Quantum theory of light. Einstein proposed his theory of light, stating that all light is composed of tiny packets of energy called photons. He suggested these photons were particles but also had wave-like properties, a totally new idea at the time. He also spent some time outlining the emission of electrons from metals as they were hit with large electric pulses like lightning. He expanded on this concept of the photoelectric effect, which we'll discuss later in this article. Quantum theory of light. Ito yung isang invention niya sa kanyang concept. Einstein proposed his theory of light. Light pa din. Stating that all light is composed of tiny packets of energy. Lahat pala ng light, merong energy. Tinatawag na photon. These photons were particles but also had wave-like properties. Meron siyang wave properties. Yung photon particle yan. Yung wave property. A totally new idea at that time. Bagong idea niya yan, panahon na yun. Kaya gumugol siya ng panahon para i-outlining niya yung emission ng electron mula sa metal para ma-hit niya yung malaking large electric pulses. like lightning. Lightning pa din, malaki lang yung pulses niya, yung wave. Nag-expand siya dito sa konsepto niya of photoelectric effect. Yung tinatawag na photoelectric effect, in-expand niya yan, yung quantum theory of light. Okay? To summarize that, tungkol sa light, kanyang invention. Theory of relativity. Relativity naman ito. Pero tungkol naman saan ito? Tungkol naman kaya sa light pa din? Tignan natin. In Einstein's studies, he began to notice inconsistencies of Newtonian mechanics in their relation to the understanding of electromagnetism, specifically Maxwell's equations. In a paper published in September 1905, he proposed a new way of thinking about the mechanics of objects approaching the speed of light. Yun, speed of light. This concept became known as Einstein's special theory of relativity. It changed the understanding of physics at the time. Binago yung pagkaunawa niya sa physics. Special theory of relativity ang kanyang tinatawag na concept niya. Concept of yung speed of light yun. To summarize that. Understanding the special theory of relativity can be a little difficult, but well, boil it down to a simple situation. He began with the understanding that light always travels at a constant 300,000 kilometers per second, and asked what would happen to our ideas of space and time if that was the case. If you fire a laser at something moving half the speed of light, the laser beam still keeps this constant and it doesn't travel at 1.5 times the speed of light. So he realized that either our measurement of the distance between objects must be wrong, or the time taken to travel that distance was greater than expected. Okay? Yung traveling of light. Distance of light, traveling of light. Meron siyang constant 300,000 kilometers per second. Magta-travel yung light. May speed. Yung light, yung traveling niya. Yung beam, nagta-traveling niya. May speed. Bilis. Invention niya yan. Kanina, light. Ngayon yung traveling. Tungkol sa light. Einstein pa din pa. Einstein pa din pa. For anyone that has made it through a chemistry class, you likely remember Avogadro's number or 8. At least rings a bell. Einstein was working to explain Brownian motions, the erratic movement of particles in a fluid. He also determined an expression for the quantity of Avogadro's number in terms of measurable quantities. All of this meant that scientists now had a way to determine the mass of an atom or the molar mass for each element on the periodic table. Avogadro's number. Na-invention niya yun. Biruin mo, walang numero. Yung bigat, masses, nasusukat niya. Yung light, merong speed, time, merong masses. Nabubuo niya yan. Kaya nga 7 yan. 7 Einstein's invention. Kapag nabuo yung 7 na yan, anong kalalabasan kaya yan? Yung invention ni Albert Einstein, yung 7. Ano kaya resulta mamaya? Abangan natin. Einstein's condensate. Oh, Bose-Einstein condensate. 1924, Einstein was sent a paper from a physicist by the name of Satyendra Nath Bose. Bose. This paper discussed detailed a way to think of light as a gas filled with indistinguishable particles. Einstein worked with Bose to extend this idea to atoms, which led to a prediction for a new state of matter, the Bose-Einstein condensate. The first example of this state was produced in 1995. A Bose-Einstein condensate is essentially a group of atoms that are cooled very close to absolutely zero. The temperature, they hardly move in relation to one another. They begin to clump together and enter into exactly the same energy state. This means that from a physical point of view, the group of atoms behave as if they were a single atom. Okay? Summary. Lahat yan, atom o ano man siya, nagsama-sama sila, nagiging single. Meron siyang wave, may energy. Lumalakas yung energy. Yung maliliit at malalaking wave, maliliit na energy, malaki. Yung magsama, energy pa din. Yun yung kanyang concept. Bose-Einstein condensate.